Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Rock Force. In the last part, I defeated Deadman, got the beat parts, as well as showed off some extras. And now, it's time to formally move on to Justice Man's castle or fortress, which has an eagle team. Fitting really, as Justice Man has a team of freedom. Anyways, time to go after the first one. Also, as a bit differently than normal Mega Man games, is that Justice Man instead has employed new robot masters. Anyways, in the first section we have these explosive fish flying from the bottom to the top, as well as these big eye rip-offs. These are only on Hardbone, by the way, the fish that is. And I completely skipped the fish. And be warned about that serpent. And be warned about the fish. If you get hit by the explosive radius, you'll take damage. And out of the three fortress stages, I would say this is the hardest one, for reasons coming up right now. That fish from above will follow you, follow your horizontal position, slowly waving around from left to right, and if you get hit by it, it'll create an explosion. So to make this section more smooth, I decided to just use the Crypt Cloak, so the fish wouldn't follow me. That fish, as well as that tree spike jump earlier, is the main reasons why I find this to be the hardest stage. Mainly because it's going to be so easy to get nicked by that fish, and get destroyed in one hit. You can either get that E-Tank by just jumping over it, or just using a shotgun. Now destroying that wall with the Phantom Fuse won't make any changes to Dive Man's pattern. But really though, the main reason why this stage I find to be the hardest out of the three fortress stages is because the overabundance of spikes, as well as all these explosive enemies, especially in combination with hard mode. This next jump caused so many deaths in previous runs that I decided to just use the Charade clone, just for safety, so I wouldn't miss my jumps. I usually undershoot or overshoot, mainly undershoot. Now I just wanted to be a bit secure and destroy all these turrets, as well as this mosquito, in advance so I wouldn't get nicked by the shot. Now for the following jump, I'm not sure if you can make it by normal jumping, so I decided to use Rush to jump over it. Because in my previous 3 or 4 attempts, I fell into water and died. And those fish from Virus Man stage make their return. But really though, it's kind of as I was saying earlier, it's kind of fitting that Justice Man, instead of having the Wily creations or Cossack creations or King creations, he instead has employed fellow robot masters for the fortress bosses. In this case, Fishman for this stage. Considering Justice Man is not really a robot creator himself, he's more of a leader, it says. He's not like an inventor like Dr. Cossack or Dr. Wily. He's a rally leader. And Fishman decided to join in. This segment you have to jump over these, well, mines of sorts, and avoid the fish from the top and these jellyfish. Or of course you can just use the Crypt Cloak to go invisible and avoid most of these hazards, which I decided to do as otherwise it makes it really hazardous traveling through these regions. Ow. Just take it slow and steady and you should be able to progress. And here we are. Now move on to the first Fortress Robot Master fight, Fishman. And compared to previous Robot Masters, these are longer, mainly because the Fortress bosses, minus the final one, both have 2 phases. Here's the first phase for Fishman. Fishman is riding with a serpent of sorts, and he has several array of attacks. The first one you saw above is when he fires 2 pulses. 2 pulses which then after a while split up in 8 ones, and after he hides himself back in, he'll fire 1 pulse which will, at a certain location which will split into 8. Just jump or slide to avoid those pulses, or just use the photon flare or the virus shield to block it. In other cases, when he slides around, swims around the room placing all these bombs, just slide under that container or try jumping over it to avoid taking damage. One is when she just swims very near the bottom, and to dodge that, the slide as early as possible. It can be a little bit hazardous avoiding all these pellets, but once you get the hang of it, it isn't too bad. One thing to note though is that Fishman with his weakness is very funnily easily defeated. Funnily easily. Really, it's just a dodging game. Boom, and now time for the second phase, where things really heat up, mainly because of those explosive fish of his. Fishman will jump around the place, releasing pairs of 2 fish, explosive fish at a time. And after a while, he'll swim to one side of the screen. This attack is when he releases a school of these explosive fish from the top side of the screen. And to destroy them all, you can either use the forearm flare or virus shield. You can hit him from above, but it's very risky, as he releases 2 sets of fish when he's falling down at once, and you can force him to lose track of you by just using the crypt cloak. The other one is when he swims from one part of the screen to the next, dropping bombs, like in his first phase. But really, the main hazard of this phase of the fight is the fish. Fishman can be a bit annoying because of his jumping pattern, but other than that, isn't too bad. In this case, to make it a lot simpler and so it wouldn't die, I decided to just use Beat. As Beat will follow the closest to fish. But really though, it's a combination of a waiting game and slowly being as cautious as possible. Without his weakness, of course. Which personally makes him kind of the more frustrating bosses of this stage, or fortress. As really though, it's kind of repetitive if you don't have the weakness. You're just repeating the motions, making sure you don't get hit by too much of the explosive fish, and giving it time to nick him in your shots. Once you get the hang of it, it isn't too bad. The thing is though, because of his rapid speed and hard mode, you have to be really cautious about using all these maneuvers. Over here, I had to use 2 or 3 E-tanks to survive this fight. I could do better, but it took so many attempts to get here in the first try, especially because of those explosive fish in the first place, that I wasn't in the mood of doing it over again, considering this was already my 30th attempt at this. Boom, and he's down. I almost got killed at that moment as well, because of him nicking me with that explosive fish. But really, I would say this is the hardest out of the 3 fortress stages. But anyways, now that Fishman's down, it's time to move on to the next of the fortress stages. Polar Man's stage. Really like that they actually use their heads. Now, normally if you directly go to Polar Man's stage or Fishman's stage, your weapon energies for each of your weapons will not be restored. But the reason for why mine are restored is because I loaded from the save file. So it's a bit of a discrepancy, so keep that in mind. If you want an easy experience, save it, save in the previous stage, load, and you'll be back to full weapon version. It's kind of an odd one. Alright, these igloos will release ice cubes after a certain while, which can be restored with 4 or 5 pellet shots, or 1 full charge shot. And of course the floors are slippery, as shown by their ice physics. But the main hazard of this stage are basically the ice blocks, igloos, and those snowflakes you saw earlier. If you shoot them with 1 pellet, they'll split into 6 different pellets in 6 different directions. The main hazard is getting nicked over them while over at bottomless pits. And making a return from Quickman stage are these raiders. Of course now they're basically snow climbers. Also, I'd like to comment on the music itself. Polar Man's stage theme is one of my favorite in this game, next to the final stage theme. Really like the soft melody being played over here. Reminds me so much of winter, snow, even though we don't really have snow where I live. Really peaceful, calm, get a bit somber, very memorable. Also, the next annoying enemy of this stage, the snowman at the bottom. The reason why they're so annoying is because if you destroy them, once he comes back, that is, they explode into three pieces: head, body, and bottom part. By getting hit by one of them, it explodes. And the thing is, though, even if you're just a little bit away, because of the explosive radius, you can get damaged. So yeah, explosive enemies. And those upper turrets still return from Virus Man's stage. Take the bottom route to get an E-tank, or, as I'll show in a moment, you can take an alternate route by just using the charade clone. Yep, go up here, take a shortcut by using charade clone, die, and get back up there. Or as I like to demonstrate here, you can actually just take the bottom route and get back there, get to the circuit at the E-tank, and just use rush roll to get back up. But I decided to take the easy route. Here's a fireman opening a hole. Make sure to hug the wall to the left of you to get an easy E-tank. Here's where the stage gets quite more difficult, because if you destroy any one of those snowflakes, they can appear in one of those designated holes. So if you aren't careful, you can get hit by them when they're falling, and then fall into the pit yourself. So really annoying. I lost about 10 or 15 runs because of that. And you can't really hit these snowflakes without getting hit by their energy pellets, especially this close, without using an explosive weapon at least. Be very careful here. Wait for all the snowflakes to come up from this pit, then jump over. And now we're safe, relatively. Next segment is quite a bit frustrating in a way, if you're not careful. More snowmen. And here's an igloo, and here's the last segment of the stage. These, I don't know what to call them, snow blowers, who basically sneeze, will freeze that water and create ice blocks, which you can then use to traverse over that water. The thing is though that the sneezing they do is damaging as well as getting hit by them, so you have to be really cautious while moving, especially on the hard difficulty with all these spike blocks moving up and down. One hit with those is instant death, so I decided to use Charade Clone. And do not stop here while taking that energy pellet. They will not respawn over here. If you get stranded over there, well, you're stuck. You can't use Rush Coil to get back, as it's pretty much an instant death trap. So then you have to restart at the previous checkpoint. That caught me off guard in 2 runs. So for security reasons, I decided to use the Charade Clones, as they demonstrate here because ice physics have rammed right into that Ice Raider. At this point, I decided to take no chances and just use all my special weaponry. And here it is, the hardest section. The main reason is that now the snowflakes are in rain, so they'll be falling at the same time as I'll be traversing over the frozen water. But really though, if you can pace yourself, it isn't too bad. And now we're finally at the boss door. Time to go after Polar Man. I do give GoldwaterDLS some credit for making the bosses creative, especially considering they're driving their own vehicles, with Fishman riding a serpent, and now Polar Man driving a refrigeration tank or something. Basically he has 3 sets of attacks in his first form. One is which he fires 3 snowflakes up. The other one is when he fires a snowball, which falls at your horizontal position, which then splits up into 4 pieces. Makes it a bit difficult to dodge. And the last one is when he fires an ice cube at the bottom. You need to use that ice cube to hit his weak point. The weak point being his eyes. Funny enough, Polar Man's first form's weakness is actually the Mega Buster. No matter if you use Charge Shot or normal shot, he'll take the same amount of damage. So basically, just wait for yourself, time your shots, and hit the ice. Not too bad. Or of course you could just use Rush Coil to speed up the process. Just be careful not to get hit by the ice cube or the explosion on the left side. But really though, the main hazard here is basically those snowflakes and, well, the snowballs. Now time for the second phase, where let's just say Polar Man is kind of unique in all the Roller Masters, as his techniques mainly involve him splitting his top and bottom. His first attack is one of his attacks is when he splits his top off and bounces around the stage. The other one is when his top spins up, does a twirl, and releases basically 2 energy waves left and right of him. Another one is when he splits off his bottom, and while his upper part bounces up and down over the same region, and his legs will try following you in a horizontal position, so basically keep jumping over it. To avoid those energy waves, just slide under them. And really though, avoiding his running bottom is the easiest part, especially if you use a charge shot to hit him. Other than that, he isn't too bad. I would say he was much easier than Fishman, especially due to the lack of the annoying fish. But anyways, now it's time to show off these robot masters with their weaknesses. Remember when I was saying about Fishman being difficult? Well, with his weakness, he's a pushover. Considering that the virus shield absorbs all of his shots, all those electrical pulses, as well as doing tons of damage to him. Take him on. And another advantage of using the virus shield is that it destroys the fish in just one hit without taking too much energy. You could use the Crypt Cloak to lure the fish out, but it's much simpler this way. And so he's dead. Here's a funny move for Fireman. If you destroy those blocks before he finishes, he falls down with a hilarious face. Anyways, here's Polar Man with his weakness. Technically, as I just said, Polar Man, his first phase, his weakness is the Mega Buster. But a way to speed up the fight is to use the Rush Coil. Instead of relying on the randomness of those ice cube trolls at the bottom, you could just use the Rush Coil to jump above, hit the eyes as much as possible, and jump to the second phase. And of course, to destroy all those snowflakes at the top, you can use the Photon Flare, though it was probably not a good idea, as Photon Flare is Polar Man's weakness in the second phase. So what ended up happening is that I ran out of weapon energy for the second phase to defeat Polar Man with his weakness, so I had to revert to using the Mega Buster. Of course, I could also just use B so I don't need to aim too much, and of course I could use the Phantom Fusion Circuit Breaker to avoid those snowflakes from splitting, so kind of an oversight on my end. Also, those snowflakes can actually drop weapon energy pellets, so that's nice. Alright, time for the second phase. And as I already said, Photon Flare is basically Polar Man's weakness, and it can actually destroy those energy waves he sends out. Though I ran out, so I had to revert to using my normal Mega Buster. Though it isn't too bad fighting him with it. And he's down. It was a bit easier with its weakness, but overall, not too bad. But anyways, thanks for watching, viewers. I'll be taking on Justice Man in the next part. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Toodles!